I'm not a product manager, and as you can see, I'm also not in any actually product-related role right now, I could say. So you could think, okay, what am I doing here on the stage of product development days, right? Now I'm in leadership roles. In the last 12 years, I spent leading teams, projects, organizations in IT. And what I've learned through that time is that I actually I'm very fond of the product mindset, and I believe wherever I see the product mindset, things go a lot better. And the second thing, I strongly believe that every product manager, every product owner, head of product, or any other product role, so somebody who's making decisions about products, is a leader. Because essentially being a leader means that you make people follow you willingly. And as a product person, that's exactly what you need to do, and you do it in 2 dimensions. One dimension is that you have a team that's responsible for building your product. So you need to make them follow you. You need to align. And the second, that's less obvious, are your users or your customers, and they also need to follow you indirectly through your product. So what I'm going to talk about today is the story of how we built an innovation department in an environment that's not really very much product-focused. So we did a kind of a mindset shift there, and I'll also tell you a little bit about the products that we've built on the way and some of the tools and techniques that we used that made us successful. Let's start with a short thought experiment. Imagine in 2 weeks from now, you're going on your dream vacation, your dream holiday. It's the best thing that you've planned ever. Everything's ready, you're set up, it's paid, you're going there with your friends or your family, whatever you prefer, maybe both. And this is something that's going to happen in 2 weeks from now. And the only thing that stands between you and this dream holiday is that you need to pick up your passport from the passport office. The good thing is, though, that the passport office is actually very close to your home. It's on the other side of the street. So you go out and you go on this journey towards the passport office, happy that this dream holiday is going to happen, and you encounter an obstacle. This is what you see on your way. It's a hole in the pavement. It's not bigger, it's not smaller, it's exactly this obstacle that stands in the way between you and your dream holiday, right? Because you need to take this passport. How many of you would turn around, go home, call your friends and family and tell them, sorry guys, no holidays this year, there was an objective obstacle that I couldn't go around, we have to cancel, maybe next year. Don't be shy, raise your hands. Okay, I'm happy to see no hands now. So maybe a different approach. How many of you would try to think about friends and colleagues that maybe have done something around construction, building, or maybe architecture in the past, and possibly could know something about fixing this kind of holes in pavements, and call a meeting for, let's say, Thursday next week, 3, when they are all free, and get together and think about solutions, how we can solve this, and then hope that you will be able to make this happen before you have to leave for your holidays. Would you do that? No, you wouldn't. Okay. That's very good news for you. Now, and I probably see where I'm getting with that, but I use one more example that I've seen happening also, is people that actually tend to get right into the hole, break a leg or 2 in the process, smash their face on the pavement, and then crawl forward to the passport office. Now, it's probably not going to be also a successful technique, but one thing that happens is that nobody can blame you that you didn't try and didn't suffer in the process. So you can say, well, yeah, I did whatever I could, but, well, it was not possible, right? Now, and as much as funny this sounds, those of you who've worked in big corporations or had big enterprises as customers or partners, you know that these things happen. And especially one of the big corporations all of us deal with are governmental agencies of any kind, right? And you see people doing this kind of things in some situations. They exactly employ these techniques to solve problems, right? And if you want to build products, especially if you want to be innovative about this products, you will gonna hit much more complex obstacles on your way, and you will need to be resilient, and you will need to be prepared how to take and tackle this kind of obstacles, and how to make your people do that, right? So what I want to tell you is, from my experience, what I've learned on the way, and how to deal with such problems and make sure that you don't fall into these pitfalls. Because I also strongly believe that people employing these techniques, at the moment when they're doing that, they're not realizing they're doing it. I hope so, at least. So let me give you a little bit of context. So I'm working at ABB. There's a company that's 130 years old. That means when Thomas Edison was doing his first commercial project about electricity, we were already on market. It was not called ABB at the time, but it's the same company. So the amount of history there, it's huge. Now, ABB has been changing the story of how industry works for the last 130 years with very innovative products around automation, around robotics, power, energy, all that stuff. And it's really a product company when you look at hardware, when you look at what's ABB delivering to the market. When you go to technical museums all over the world, you'll find ABB products there. They're there, yes. But what happens to IT and software at the same time? Now, that's a complicated story. In the 21st century, after a lot of mergers, acquisitions, after a lot of changes in strategy, the corporate IT and the landscape of software, especially internal software, it's very complicated, and it's flooded with a lot of applications and tools, and there is no product mindset around it, and a lot of great talent and great people working there are spending most of their time to just maintain things and make sure that everything works. There's not much place for innovation. There's not much place for thinking, okay, what can we do better, or how can we really do something new? So to fix one of the things in this landscape, a few years back in Krakow, a small local team of mobile applications developers and specialists and UX designers was created to fix the problem with a small part of it, the mobile apps. And to tell you what kind of situation it was, ABB being a global company, we had over 20 accounts on mobile app stores, right? So every department or country were creating their own apps account and publishing apps, no branding, no legal alignment. It was a mess. And at that time, because I was happy enough to join this team quite quickly after it was created, we didn't have even the mandate to fix that. But there were a bunch of people who really wanted to make things work. So we approached the businesses, the people who were responsible for this app, and tried to talk to them, understand why they're doing it, what could be done better for them. And quite quickly, we came to the moment where we were able to show the first successes, and that the people actually understood that we are going to help them, that we are not another impediment, but this actually may make sense. The small team in Krakow started to be something like, hey, there's this bunch of guys, they may help you in something you're doing with mobile apps. And with that happening, a lot of these guys came to us and told us, okay, you're good with mobile apps, with our mobile apps, maybe you can help us create some new products. Maybe you can help us design an app, actually, not only help with the distribution and with the alignment. And we were, yeah, hooray, let's do it, great. But wait a moment, how do we do that? We have not really the capacity for that. Sometimes we don't even have the competency for that. We don't have the processes and any kind of internal business model that would support the people inside this big company to pay us or reimburse the cost of us doing that. So we started thinking, what do we need to do to make this happen? Now, to spoil this story a little bit, I'll tell you where we are right now, and then I'll go to what we've learned on the way. Right now, we're a global IT innovation department with over 50 people. It's still not big compared to ABB, where we were getting a lot of things done. We're present in Krakow, in Zurich, where is the headquarters, and now building up a new team in Bangalore. And we're part of the company's strategy around how do we do innovations in IT and how do we build new products and use new technologies in the company. And the CIO shows us as an example how IT should be done in this company. So we've went a long way from a local team in only a bunch of years. And when I reflect on what's happened and what was the most important things that helped us to achieve that, it's 4 pillars. And funny enough, none of these things are technology or any specific methodology. These are things rather mindset, or you could say culture or leadership related. First of these things is direction. And it was said here from the stage already today, it's about where you want to go and how you want to behave on the way going there. So it's about a vision very clear vision and also the values that you want to use and you want to employ. And this is as important on a team level and an organizational level as much on a product level. So if you're talking about a new product, you really need to know where you're going with that. Now, for us as a team, as a department, we created this vision statement that said business value through innovation. And one of my favorite definitions of strategy is actually that strategy is what not to do. So business value through innovation means that we're not engaging in projects and products and any ideation around things where there is no immediate or very quick business value added to our customers, be it internal customers or external customers. And it's easy to say, it's sometimes a lot harder to execute, because business value can sometimes be easily estimated, sometimes not. Sometimes, especially if you're looking for innovations, there is value in only maybe showing that this technology is something you could employ in other areas, and that's already a win. Now, counting that is not always easy, but it's important to have this in mind. And it's not only you as a leader, as a product person to have this in mind, but the whole team aligned on that. Every person that's working on this specific product, this specific idea, needs to understand that this is the vision and this is where we are going with it. For us, this was helping us mostly to concentrate on the outcomes and not on the outputs. So not to play with technology, not to try out new things just for the sake of doing that, but to really focus, okay, this is what the business wants to get, this is what they're aiming for, and we only get into that discussion if we see that. So we divided the process into a discovery phase and a delivery phase. Not something really rocket science, but thanks to that, in the discovery phase, we were able to really validate if this makes sense, and we consider also being a success if we kill an idea. Because if we see that maybe there is not enough business value, we think it's really good sometimes to say it aloud, or always say it aloud, but try to convince business to not find somebody else to do it, but to find a better solution, another approach to this thing. So with a clear direction, how it helps you on an everyday basis, it helps you to make decisions. And decisions and decision-making is the second pillar I want to talk about. So you have your clear direction, and with that direction, you need to face some decisions on the way. And you need to be ready to take risk. And your teams need to be ready to take risk. And also your teams need to be able to speak up. And what I mean with that is that you need to create an environment in which people speaking up, but also people experimenting and failing, is something totally okay, is something normal that needs to happen. Now, sometimes I hear people in software development talking about trying to create a risk-free environment. And I probably believe that it's possible, but I also think that an environment that is risk-free is at the same time always innovation-free. Because if there is innovation, there must be risk. It's something you haven't done in the past. You don't know how to do it. You need to try things out. So you need to make your people speak up. And with that, I want to tell you a short story. What happened when one of my designers and developers, the guys in the team, approached me saying, hey, there's this product that ABB is building outside with a third-party vendor. It's a 3D mobile app, some kind of marketing stuff. And we've never done this in the past, but we feel excited about this, and we have some background in 3D in the past, and we would like to try, we'd like to experiment, see if we can deliver that better, maybe also cheaper. So we said, okay, let's not try to build a big process, let's not try to get budgets around it, just do a first iteration, try to find some time maybe between the projects, something slightly under the radar, and let's show it to the business that is actually buying this other solution. So after the first iteration, it already looked promising. After the second, there was really some excitement around this. What happened through the past, I think, 2.5 years from this one project, right now we have a whole team of engineers and people specializing in augmented and virtual reality apps for different devices, different businesses. We've built a few products. One of them is right now being productized to be launched as a separate product out in the market. And this happened only because the people in the team understood that they can try and experiment and make things happen bottom up. So this is really important. Now, the second thing about decision making, and you as product people, for you it's probably very clear, but in many companies, especially when you look for internal software, it's not. You need to distinguish your customer from your end user. And again, short example here. So These guys from Marine and Ports Department in ABB called us to come to Finland and help them digitize one of their solutions that they're using for internal service. So you need to know that ABB is delivering this big turbochargers and other parts that are supporting these cruisers that cruise on the Caribbean Sea. So these big luxury ships. Most of these things have ABB motors, drives, and turbochargers on board. Now, when we do service with these ships, every hour that the ship stays in the shipyard costs a lot of money. So any kind of delay is really costly, to that point that if we're missing any spare parts that were not planned for, we're sometimes using private jets to fly things into a few screws, fly them into a shipyard, because it's cheaper to do that than it would be to wait for maybe 2 hours more when the spare parts arrive. So these guys in Marine Ports tell us, we have these engineers that are going into the dockyard to do a survey on the ship and check what's working, what's not, and they have all these paper instructions, you know, how to do things, and they write things with pen and paper and do notes. And we would love this to be digital, because afterwards we spend a lot of time digitizing these notes, and this is sometimes inconsistent. So yeah, it sounds like a good idea, right? So let's do that. So we spend a day in workshops trying to figure out what are the needs, why they're doing, what kind of problems they're trying to solve. And it all sounded like, okay, that may make sense, maybe a good idea. Next day, we go on a lunch, and these guys didn't ask for that, but we were able to do that. We go on a lunch with somebody who actually went to that shipyard. And you can imagine what happens when the lady tells us, well, yeah, that's a great online solution, but we never have access to internet over there. We have always greasy palms, and we can't actually use something digital. We make notes and do some drawings, and sometimes cut these things in pieces and share with a few people, because we really need to speed up things. And one of the most important features for the management, for the people who wanted to pay for this solution, was actually voice recognition. Because let's make these people say things and not write things down, it will save time. The amount of noise in the shipyard is so that it's absolutely not possible. So all of the great ideas from the customers who were willing to pay for the solution made absolutely no sense to the end users. And I probably think you've been there. It's just good if you figured it out before you actually do the solution for the customer and make them pay for it. Third thing regarding decision making, it's good to trace them. Even in innovation, and it was said also from this stage today, sometimes, even if you have the data, and the data is speaking against, you want to make some decisions that are not really aligned with the data. You know probably all the story about the marketing research done for the iPhone, right? That it will not work and that it will fail. There is no need for such a device in the market. Now, we know how this story ends, so probably the research wasn't accurate enough, or maybe the need wasn't there when the research was done. But what I'm saying, even if you make decisions based on gut feeling or on some subjective things, write them down. Try to write them down to just be able to trace them back. If you make a mistake, you make sure that you learn from that and that your team also can go back, okay, we did this project, started this product, it didn't work out, but these are the steps that we did. And that's what we assumed for the next project, for the next product, it will be easier to omit this mistake. Third pillar, after we set a clear direction, we've taken some decisions and we've taken some risky decisions also, is execution. Well, with execution, you need to be really pragmatic. So if you see that the business value is on the other side of the fence, you just need to go through this kind of hole. If you see a hole in the pavement, like we saw at the beginning, your first thought is not to run back, but omit it. Maybe embrace the risk and try to jump over it, right? And maybe if you're thinking about a long-term solution that you need to fix this hole, yeah, that may make sense if you know that we'll be going through this pavement forth and back in the future. But maybe not. Maybe it's just one try, and never again you want to walk on this pavement. So why bother? Why spend the time there? As leaders, as product people, you should make decisions. And sometimes you have to take the accountability for doing things. Maybe a little bit under the radar, maybe going a little faster than it's acceptable by the company, by your stakeholders, and ask rather for forgiveness than for permission. One thing about being pragmatic is we all know agile software development, right? And agile is all about being pragmatic. Iterative development is a very pragmatic thing to do. Fail quick, try things, it doesn't work, you just recover very quickly. And one of the concepts there we all know very well is the MVP concept, right? A minimum viable product. Now, what we've learned throughout the last years, our customers were not really looking for the MVP. They were used to high quality that they can show to the customers on day one already. And what we took out of that, and it's not something that we've created, but we found as a name, and we are very eager to use it, is the minimum awesome product. That means that we're talking, even if we're talking minimal features, or even one feature, we're taking the user experience to the max possible. We're engaging the designers from the beginning, the user experience specialists, to make sure that even this one feature, that we have this wow effect from the very beginning. Because at the end of the day, this is how you sell this feature, even if it's internal. If it's a product, if the business that's not tech savvy tell you that they understand, I understand this is MVP, this is text only, but could it be a little bit more green and this great button and things like that, right? They don't really understand. If you go for the awesome, yes, it's a balance, you spend a little bit more time, but then you make sure that they're not distracted by not really seeing what we're looking for. And the last fourth pillar, this is about making yourself visible. And again, to those of you who are working in smaller companies and already with a product mindset, it's absolutely obvious that you need to show what you've done. You need to sell what you've done, right? If you're not selling a product, what difference does it make? In a big corporation, it's really easy, looking at what's happening in such companies, to get disconnected from the market, to forget that you're actually delivering to sell these things, to make these things used at the end of the day. And people tend to think, okay, if it's an internal product for another department, they have to use it, right? I don't need to communicate about this. I don't need to show them the value. They will use it. Maybe they will. But long term, it's probably not the best solution to not create a brand and not really try to sell, even if it's internally. Now, if you want to sell something again, you're not writing a 5,000 words article to get somebody excited, right? What you do if you want to sell a B2C product on Facebook, you create a short movie, right? Let's get people excited. Now, we started doing this internally, and we were shy at the beginning because that's not something that you do in a big company. Create a movie about the products, it's for another department, right? I mean, okay. But when we saw the outcomes, this was it. Selling these things internally and showing how much value we can bring to one customer internally, that got people excited and started talking about that. In one of the C-level meetings, our VP, where there's the structure, templates about status reports, there's a very senior management in the room, and everybody is showing according to the same template. And our VP came in one of these meetings and just hit the play button on a video. Everybody was shocked, grim faces. How it ended? Standing applause, right? And the value needs to be there. I'm not telling you to oversell and to try to do PowerPoint instead of products, no. But it's about, even if you create the best product possible, if you're not able to communicate the value in a way that's attractive to your stakeholders, it won't really catch the attention enough to make you go for another product and another try and maybe get a little bit bigger and grow in the process. So communication. And if you catch people's attention, it's a lot easier also to make sure that they let you experiment and that they let you fail if this is what's going to happen. And if you're doing innovation, failing is an option that you need to consider. And again, this was said here a few times, it's just not easy to communicate that sometimes to some of the stakeholders. One last concept that I want to share with you regarding communication, and maybe some of you have heard about that. So let's start with test-driven development. So who's not familiar with test-driven development here? Okay, we have a few people. But basically, test-driven development is about you first create the tests, and then you create the solution to make sure that the solution is not, that the tests are not biased how the solution is done, and that you really make something to fulfill the goals that you wanted from the beginning, right? This is for features, this is for software. Now, why not think about this for the whole product? Why not try to think about a test for a product before you even go out there? And what I like to call it is success story-driven development. You think about a success story, how you want to make your product look like a few months after it was released, and what you'd like people to say about it, whom you would like to see talking about your product, and what would they say. Write this down. Make sure that this is really a person, if this is what kind of user this is, what would they say, what adjectives they would use in describing your product, and then use this as a vision moving forward and validate your ideas, validate your decisions against this story, right? Some of you probably recognize Amazon is doing a very similar thing with the press releases, Jeff Bezos, right? Create this press release before you start doing a product. I think this is really a great thing, and even if you're not doing or don't believe in that, try it once. It's not really costly. It's something I strongly believe can make a difference in the way how you perceive the products that you're making. So what we've achieved with applying these pillars, I've told you we've grown, and right now we're an important part of the strategy. But for me, what's more important even is the team that we've created in the process. From the few people, we're now over 50 people, and 50 people not only prepared to jump over a hole in the pavement, but to cross oceans of problems. It was a really great working atmosphere with the smallest number of people leaving from all the IT departments in ABB. So this is really a place to be, and I really enjoy working there a lot. Now, what does business have from that? Now, we're supporting revenue generation. So we're piloting and building these MAPs of products and making sure that business invests really there where the value is. So we are able to verify if this product would make sense, if it's out there, maybe sometimes with one customer a second, and then scale it up and use other departments, of course, to help us in scaling and then creating services based on that and so on. The second thing that we're doing is we're supporting ABB's brand as a digital leader. ABB's got a great brand for the products, the hardware products, but in the digital world, this is our goal for this 10 years coming as ABB, and we want to show that we're there with the digital things that we create, with virtual reality, augmented reality things, employing blockchain, trying to seek for opportunities using really new technologies. This is how we help ABB brand. And then, as an IT department, we're also looking into this kind of internal digitalization. So making sure that we use these new technologies to increase efficiency. So doing business process automation, and here with help of Erhan is also here, doing chatbots, doing things that we see that the company will gain efficiency and value internally, not only with external customers. And in corporations, there is a lot of places to do that. What we're most proud of is that these kind of pictures, this is actually one of our designers looking at one of our products. This is things that we do on a daily basis, and we ship them as pilots to our end customers. We use them as things to help our service people in the company. So it's about AI, it's about cognitive services, it's about augmented reality and blockchain, and employing these technologies and making this a really attractive place to work, but also making sure that we only use these tools there where we see immediate business value and kill the ideas where there's not there. So back to the whole. If you see that kind of obstacle on your way, why nobody raised the hands when I was asking what you would, if you turn around? Because you had a clear direction. If you were just going for a walk, maybe you'd change the pavement. Why risk a jump, right? You could break a leg. Or maybe a car could hit you if you're trying to omit it. But if you know where you're going, you have a clear direction, you've made your decisions, then you'll be pragmatic about such obstacles. And then if you get there, if you get to the innovation island and really have the products, communicate, communicate, communicate. And one last thing, not to forget, have fun in the process. Without that, it's never going to work. Thank you very much.